Yo! What's up, everybody? Steven with GamePowMasters here. One thing you guys probably didn't know about me is I'm a really huge wrestling fan. I love wrestling. I've loved wrestling for years. At one point, if there was a pay-per-view, Raw, Smackdown, anything in my area, I would go there. I would be at the event. I even have a picture right here of me at Judgment Day 2003 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Peekaboo! That's me right there with the yellow shirt. That's me and my uncle watching Stone Cold Steve Austin pop out from a window asking us to say, "Oh, hell yeah!" Alright, I want the point of this video. THQ just announced not that long ago that the Smackdown series is over. There's not going to be any more Smackdown games. Instead, we're going to get WWE 2012 with a brand new wrestling system starting over from the beginning from scratch. And that's cool. But that means that the Smackdown series that we've all loved for years is over. There's not going to be any more. So what I decided to do was pick my 5 favorite Smackdown games and do a top 5 video. Now keep in mind, these might not be your favorite Smackdown games, but these are mine and I'll tell you why. So, let's start off with number 5. Number 5. Number 5 is where the whole series started. Smackdown for the Sony PlayStation. Smackdown for the PlayStation 1 was one of the first wrestling games that I played where I really enjoyed the career mode. It also helped that the game was pure arcade style action. They changed the game to simulation style later, but this game was just fast and furious fun. Now I know by today's standards, this game looks like pure crap, but at the time, the lighting effects, the shadows, the camera flashes, they were just something that wrestling games had never done before, so it was awesome. And even though the roster was pretty much pulled right out of 1999, it was still a pretty good roster. I mean, at the time, all that mattered to me and my friends was that The Rock and Austin were in the game. Anybody else was just an added bonus, like Mark Henry, even though we never played with him. But if you had a multi-tap, you were treated to some 4-player action that was fast and surprisingly deep. The game also had a creative pay-per-view mode. And this was really cool, especially for the time, just because you can make your own fantasy pay-per-views with all your top matches that you really wanted to see but weren't going to happen. The creative pay-per-view mode was really cool, and you could even have the audience rate your matches. This was something they didn't have to do, but it was made for fans. And then there's the season mode. This mode was a lot of fun because it was 4 players. I had a lot of fun with this mode, because you got to do everything in the WWF schedule, including going to house shows. How many games put you in house shows? The first Smackdown may not be the best Smackdown, but it definitely deserves to be in the top 5. It introduced a lot of new ideas, and you didn't have to be a wrestling fan to have fun with it. If you smell what number 4 is cooking! Number 4 is Smackdown 2 Know Your Role. The reason I picked Smackdown 2 for number 4 is because everything that was fun about Smackdown was back, but better. They fixed a lot of the stuff, and then they made more animations, more wrestlers, more match types. Everything was bigger. There was just more to it. As much fun as me and my friends had with Smackdown, we had even more fun with Smackdown 2. The roster at the time was amazing because just about everybody that was on TV was in the game. One big thing the first Smackdown game was missing was match types. The only real specialty matches you could have were like I Quit matches and cage matches. With Know Your Role, they added Hell in a Cell matches, table matches, ladder matches, TLC matches. Just about any match that was on TV at the time was in the game. One really big addition they made to Know Your Role was the Create a Wrestler system. This was really cool because you could create pretty much anything you wanted, and I mean anything. And I'm serious, you could pretty much create almost really whatever you wanted. You didn't even have to choose if it was going to be a man or a woman. It could be an it.
Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man. Don't treat me like you know me. Treat me for just who I am.
One thing I was really happy about with Know Your Role was that the season mode made its return. Smackdown 2's season mode was really cool, just because it had such a huge roster and tons of different match types. But one thing that really hurt the game was the fact that it had these stupid life bars that you had to watch drain when you were skipping matches that you weren't in. And that really hurts the game and puts it further back on the list. But it's still a great game in the series, and it's still a winner in my heart. Number 3! SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was great, and I know a lot of people put this at their number 1, but I am putting this at number 3. Here Comes the Pain took everything that was great about Shut Your Mouth and just improved on it and made it better. Better graphics, better roster, and a brand new wrestling system. This was the first major change to the wrestling system since it was introduced in the first SmackDown game, and it was a big change. The big change to the system was being able to press up in circle, down in circle, left in circle, or right in circle, and then getting to go into a different set of grapples, making a total of 32 grapples for each wrestler. And it made the game just a ton of fun. Me and my friends would just have a blast throwing each other around and then just seeing what all the grapples would end up being. And that's why I can see people put this game at number 1. It was a big change for the series, and for a lot of people, it was the best wrestling game they ever played. The season mode made its return, but it was different. Because at the time, WWE had split the roster into 2, so you had to pick if you were going to be on Raw or SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain had some great storylines. One really cool thing is since that it didn't have voiceovers, you could pick any wrestler and they could be in tons of different stories. And this game had lots of stories with different branching paths. So it was great. I just had a ton of fun playing through this. And that's the thing, I pretty much have almost nothing but good things to say about this game. But it is my number 3, because the other 2 games on this list, I enjoyed a lot more. Number 2! And here we go, number 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. Alright, to be completely honest with you, I wasn't really expecting much from SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. I thought they were just going to update the roster from 2010 and just call it a day. But no, 2011 made some really big improvements to the SmackDown series. I love how things like a chair can be in the middle of a ring, you get slammed on it, and your wrestler will react to it, and even the commentators will be like, "Whoa, he just slammed him on a chair!" Details like this make me love this game. And this game has the biggest roster in any SmackDown game period. And not only do they have the normal WWE roster, but they have tons of legends in this game. And a couple years ago they got rid of the season mode and replaced it with Road to WrestleMania. In Road to WrestleMania you pick one of 5 different storylines and then free roam in the backstage area. While backstage you can get into annoying backstage brawls, which I usually try to avoid, or just move on with the story. Sometimes you'll be given objectives to complete within the match, like this one where you have to beat Tyson Kidd within 3 minutes. Overall, I ended up having a lot of fun with this story mode, and it gave me a lot of hours of gameplay to enjoy. And I just want to give a quick nod to the great voice acting. But definitely the standout mode for 2011 is WWE Universe. With WWE Universe, pretty much every match that you have, whether it's multiplayer or single player, will be ranked, and it'll just be in a pay-per-view card or Raw card, whatever. You never know what you're gonna get in this one! I love this game! Alright, here it is. The GamePowMasters choice for the best SmackDown game is SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. I remember being really disappointed with the first SmackDown vs. Raw game. So I had really high hopes for SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. And I'm really happy to say that I wasn't disappointed. While SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 didn't make any big changes to the wrestling system, it was still a big step for the series. The season mode wasn't as freeform as other entries in the series, but it had voiceovers by the time's top WWE superstars.
Last person to see Teddy Long before his accident. Do you mind if I ask you about it?
While I had fun with the season mode and the polished wrestling system, these aren't the reasons that I still even now play SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. The reason this is my favorite in the series is because of the General Manager mode. In the GM mode, you get to draft your roster, then make shows and do your best to keep your superstars happy. I've had hundreds of hours of entertainment getting to pretend I was the GM for Raw or SmackDown. I know this mode isn't for everyone, but it helped make SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 the complete package. It had something for every type of wrestling fan, and that's why I feel that SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 is the best SmackDown game of all time. Congrats SVR 2006, you deserve it. So there it is, I hope you've enjoyed this top 5 list. Thanks for watching.